Hey, I'm Doug. Welcome to Backcountry Pilgrim, a channel that is all about camping, hiking, and backpacking. If you are all about that stuff, why don't you subscribe to the channel? I would really appreciate it. Today I want to talk about trekking poles, specifically the Cascade Mountain Tech versus the Foxelli Carbon trekking poles. Now, if you've seen any of my previous trekking pole videos, you probably know that I'm a big fan of Foxelli trekking poles. I found them over a year ago on Facebook selling their aluminum poles for $15. I couldn't believe it. I figured they would just be total garbage. Turned out they were great. Had absolutely no problems on any of my trips with the Foxelli aluminum poles. Then I decided to upgrade to the carbon poles. Now, I was a little bit afraid to use these because I'd heard a lot about carbon poles breaking and that sort of thing, but I have beat these up pretty well, including one time where I smacked them against a tree to scare off a bear. And after that, I came to really trust them. Now, I am a member of several hiking pages on Facebook, and it seems like almost every time somebody asks about trekking pole preferences, there are a few that always get mentioned. At the high end, you usually have the Black Diamond Carbon Corks, but in the low to mid-range, I was noticing a lot of people recommending Cascade Mountain Tech, many of them saying that they got them at Costco. So I didn't really know what to think about that, but I finally decided I needed to check them out. Now, here is the full disclosure section of the video. I reached out to Cascade Mountain Tech and told them I do gear reviews and I would like to check out their carbon poles, and they sent these to me for free. Not only did they send them to me for free, but they sent me this really cool steel tumbler as well. So before I even looked at the poles, I already knew they were pretty much the best on the market. Just kidding. Yes, Cascade Mountain Tech did send me these poles for free, but unlike some people, I can do a completely objective review even on free gear. And today I'm going to prove it. Because by way of comparison, I'm going to be putting the Cascade Mountain Techs up against my Foxelli poles, which were also sent to me for free. So one way or the other, I'm going to be talking smack about one of these companies. Now, I have to say that when I first ordered these, I figured they were probably going to be pretty similar to the Foxellis. I kind of assumed that pretty much anybody who is making trekking poles in this range is probably buying all their parts from the same distributors, and so what you are getting is largely the same thing. So I was kind of surprised to discover that although there are a lot of very similar parts, these are definitely not the same poles. Now let's just get this part out of the way right up front because I know most of you are very curious about the bag that they come in. Okay, I don't actually use trekking pole bags, but I have to say that the Cascade Mountain bag was pretty impressive. Really nice material, nice and simple, no pockets, no straps. So you're gonna have to clip this onto something if you want to carry the bag around, but again, that's not something that I personally do. The Foxelli bag loses this round. It's just kind of a cheap feeling material. There's a big pocket on the outside, which is nice for storage of tips and things like that. But it's a drawstring top, so everything has to drop in. Plus it's got this big, huge strap on it. I don't really have need of any of this, but I have to say that if you're picking your trekking poles based on the bag they come in, Cascade Mountain Tech wins it. So from top to bottom, both come with cork grips, and the only reason that the cork on the Cascade Mountain Tech is a different color is because I haven't used it as much. As far as the grips go, I can't tell any difference at all. They seem to be exactly the same shape, same materials, including the EVA foam secondary grip. I do like the strap on the Cascade Mountain because it's got a really nice soft lining inside that the Foxelli doesn't. It's a little smoother, whereas the Cascade Mountain Tech is a little softer. Not really sure which one I like better. The pole diameters seem to be pretty much the same, but the length of the sections is a little bit different. As you can see, the Cascade poles are a little bit longer than the Foxellis. The Cascade Mountain appear to be about 1 3/4 inch longer than the Foxellis, but when I set them both at the 50 mark, the Cascade Mountain came in at just barely short of 50, whereas the Foxelli came in at about 49.5. And that does contribute to a weight difference. On my scale, the Cascade Mountain Tech came out at 8.2 ounces each, whereas the Foxellis came in at 7.7. So for the pair, you're talking about a 1 ounce difference. Now, it was in the bindings that I really found some of the most difference. First of all, the twist knobs are different on both poles. The Cascade Mountain are a lot more rounded, and it's a little bit difficult to get a good grip on them. Whereas the Foxellis are more of a disc, and the surface is a lot more grippy. So I had a much easier time adjusting the poles on the Foxellis than I did on the Cascade Mountain Tech. More importantly, though, was the actual flip lock levers. Now, both of these are quick release, which is a non-negotiable for me. But what I noticed on the Cascade Mountain is that when they are up, they are very loose. And this is not a function of the locking mechanism. Even when they're tight, they still have quite a bit of motion, and in fact, when you snap them down, they can be off, whereas the Foxellis have almost no motion at all, and they always snap directly in place. The tips are pretty much the same, but they are not interchangeable because the Foxelli is a little stubbier and wider, the Cascade Mountain Tech is a little thinner and longer. Both the Cascade Mountain Tech and the Foxelli poles come with a good array of tips and baskets for snow, mud, sand, asphalt, or hard rock surfaces, and they both come with protective tips for storage or transportation. Another big difference between the poles is how they feel when you're actually using them. When I extended the Cascade Mountain Tech poles and started walking around with them, I noticed fairly quickly quite a bit of vibration that I was not used to from the Foxellis. They were also quite a bit louder. Whether I was smacking them on the side or trying to use them in a more realistic fashion, in both cases the Cascade Mountain Tech were quite loud. No matter how tight I put the bindings, I was still getting a lot of rattle with the Cascade Mountain poles, and the difference between those and the Foxellis was definitely noticeable. Okay, so which pole is better? Well, there is one more feature that we need to talk about that I think is determinative, and that is price. Objectively speaking, I think that the Foxelli poles are definitely better. They weigh less, and their construction seems to be more solid. However, the Foxellis also cost more. As of August 2020, the retail on the Cascade Mountain Techs is $47.99. And you can get them down to about $45 on Amazon. The Foxellis retail for $79.99, and they run about $69.99 on Amazon, unless you get one of those crazy sales. So we're talking about a $20 to $25 difference, and in this price range, that is significant. Now, the Cascade Mountain does have a couple advantages over the Foxelli. For me, those differences are not worth the disadvantages, and for 20 bucks, personally, I would probably stick with the Foxelli. However, if you're just getting started or you need a backup set, great deal on the Cascade Mountain Tech poles, especially when we consider that both of these are such great values compared to something like the Black Diamond Carbon Corks. Now, these are very popular with a lot of big-time thru hikers, but what's interesting is that the Black Diamonds cost $160, and that's if you get it on a decent sale. I think retail is $180. Now, they weigh 8.5 ounces, which means they actually weigh more than either one of these poles, and that's significant because really the only reason to get carbon trekking poles is to save weight. Aluminum are a lot more trustworthy and a lot more usable if they get damaged. In fact, there are big-time hikers that have used Black Diamond, REI, other poles that simply refuse to buy carbon anymore because they always break them. Now, it may just be that they're being a little rougher on the poles than they should be, but this is a story that I've heard repeated a number of times, and for me, I can't justify dropping $160, $180 on poles that I have to worry about breaking. But in the $50 to $70 range, I can be a little bit more confident knocking these things around. Now, to be clear, I am not getting down on Black Diamond. I have literally trusted Black Diamond equipment with my life. It's just that in this particular category, I think that paying 250% more for something needs to get you a lot more than you get moving from a budget pole to one of the more elite brands. Alright, I hope this video has helped you out in your decision about trekking poles. If it has, would you mind giving it a like? And if you disagree, I am interested in your thoughts.